Good Sunday afternoon, YouTubers. A new channel popped up called That Car Guy. He only has 62 subscribers, so the point of my video today is to help call him out and see if I can get him some subscribers through my channel. And he basically issued a challenge. He called some specific YouTubers out. But I thought I'd hop in. Saw Fred Henry do one. So, and his challenge was, what inspires your builds? So I've got 3 builds in front of me, and they're really good examples of what inspires my builds. And I'm a relationship type of person. People matter to me. People, just as much as cars, inspire me. So what you'll see in front of you is a collection of 3 different types of builds, 2 very similar, one off the beaten path, and they all have their own story. So I'll start with this one. This is the tutorial that Fred Henry put out. Got me hooked on Pro Streets. I grew up building NASCAR, and I'll get to this one real quick. This is one of the builds that I did when I came back into the hobby after a 20-year hiatus. But this build came up, and I saw a tutorial, and I got hooked on Fred Henry's channel, and he said he's going to do this tutorial. And I had done a 55, but I didn't do it right. And the axles weren't really axles. I just took the wheels and kind of glued them in, and they didn't really have a real axle to them, and I didn't know how to do it. And Fred put out this tutorial and completely changed how I build models. So the first inspiration I want to mention is Fred Henry. That tutorial changed how I look at models. It changed how I approach models, and it also changed how much money is in my pocketbook. Just kidding. But it changed how I look at models, and things changed in a way that were so beneficial to my building. He talked about how you could modify frames, and you could modify certain cars and certain kits to work with other kits, and it completely changed how I look at things. So first inspiration I want to call out is Fred, and the next inspiration I want to call out is the Pro Street, and that's where my heart really lies right now. But then there's cars that mean something to me, and I see. So I progressed from this build to this build, and this build here was very similar to this build. The only difference is that you'll see this is a Belvedere and this is a 55. Well, the Belvedere inspiration came from my neighborhood. I have a guy in my neighborhood that has a drag car, and it's a 67 Belvedere. Well, I couldn't find a 67. I found a 64, I'm sorry. So what I did with this build is I took the AMT 70 Super B kit and took the frame and shoved it up under here, and I had to do a lot of modifications up in the hood area. See if I can get this hood off. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. And I had to do these inner aprons and modify them, and you'll see right here where I cut the Belvedere off and modified the aprons to fit. And it's such a tight fit, I didn't have to glue it, but the problem with that is it slides on me, and it doesn't give me the best fit, and you'll see some dust on the windshield. I'm sorry about that. I also wanted to add some realism, and this inspiration came from Don Yost and how he does his cars. I wanted to make it look as real as I could look. Now, it's sloppy because this is kind of my first run to it. The wires are kind of going every which way, and if you look at Don Yost, his has a simplistic but clean look to them. And I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know where these wires go. But I did my best, and I thought I turned out a pretty good model with this. Some of the other things, you know, I shoved those tires, and I got the stance on this car. I just love the stance on this car. It's my favorite part of this car. And this is by far my best build, for sure. And the hood goes right back in there. And then the last build over here, this is NASCAR, and this is one of the first builds I did coming back into the modeling after 20 years. And the inspiration behind this car is, when I was a kid, we grew up going to NASCAR races. We grew up at the track. If we weren't at a NASCAR race, we were at a sprint car race, or we were at some dirt car race. Or I grew up in Southern Indiana, and that's a big deal in Southern Indiana. Racing's everywhere. It was a big part of my life. So I grew up going to Indianapolis 500. I grew up going to the Nashville 420 before they got rid of that race. And I grew up going to the Talladega 500. And I grew up going to all these different races. Well, where I grew up was about an hour away from Owensboro, Kentucky. And Darrell Waltrip is from Owensboro, Kentucky. And we grew up Darrell Waltrip fans. So I had always loved this car, but the problem of building with this car is the color has to be a certain look, and Model Car Works makes a dead-on color for this neon red. And the white came from them, the black came from them. The bad part about this build, as Fred was talking about this with his current build, is it had slick decals, and the slick decals broke apart on me, and I've got some decal issues on the car, but I still love the look of this car. So it's been my favorite car. But on that note, you know, some of the other things is I'm building this Galaxy, and one of the people that has inspired me on YouTube is Butch over at Full Throttle Customs. Butch builds some of the best, most realistic pro streets that you'll ever see. And he builds them all scratch. So that was the inspiration behind trying to build what I'm currently building with this Galaxy. And the Galaxy pick, the reason I picked the Galaxy is when I was a kid, my dad had a 67 Galaxy. Well, this is a 66. They don't make 67s in kit form that I know of. So I got the best thing that I could find. So that's my inspiration. It's about people I know and cars that I see or grew up with. I'm a believer in your childhood memories stir up emotions in you as a person. So that's it in a nutshell. I thought I'd do a video and share this with you. The Galaxy build is coming along. I'm working on the frame. So there's the frame. It'll tuck up under the 66. See if I can get it with one hand. It's like that. I've got the doors hinged. I've taped them shut so they don't swing on me, but and then I'll be building the X in here next, and then I'll cut these off so I can do front frame rails on it, and then I will build off of this. The step here is specifically for the 4-link, and we're going to keep on building this and see where it goes. And so far so good. I've had a few oops and oh craps, but we've been able to work through those. So and a special shout out to Butch, who has been inspirational and very helpful on that build. I couldn't thank Butch enough. He's been like a patient father with me. I've asked a ton of questions to him, and he's answered them all. So I'm really thankful that I was able to meet Butch on YouTube. What's amazing about YouTube is that you could talk to people off of YouTube on personal message and become friends with them. But it's always about the relationships with me. So take care, everybody. Glad you watched. It's kind of a longer video for me, but I appreciate it. And thanks for all of my subscribers and people that watch my videos. And to quote Chuck at Chuck Hobby Spot, I don't know why anybody watches this crap. Just kidding. Thanks again for everybody that watches, and have a good day.